Hey, Callan. That son of yours who's not named Tahu spoke with me earlier about doing a how-to for your annoying fans, and after a bit of convincing, here I am, finally agreeing to it.
Okay. So Peter talked to you?
I know he hasn't communicated with you yet, but trust me, he made the message very clear.
I see. Well, don't worry about it. I'm doing a how-to with a twist.
A twist? What kind of...
Hey guys, it's CallanLoF, and today I will be doing a how-to on my new Tahu 2025 motto design. Now, you may look at this lineup and see it's kind of random. I have just Callan and this black and red Callan here. Well, that's actually intentional because I will be doing a how-to of Tahu in black and red pieces. Why black and red pieces? Because I had them. So, let's begin with one of the legs. So with arms and legs, I'm only going to be showing how to make one side because they mirror each other and because the designs for both the arms and legs are actually relatively simple. So I hope you can easily follow along with what I'm doing, as I've already let a ball joint start flying, but that's okay. It's a pretty simple design, though I do feel like I have enough to talk about with the model to do a proper breakdown of how I designed him, and I will probably make a separate video where I do that. I'm not going to promise that because ultimately I feel like this is the video more of you are interested in seeing, so you can actually build this guy, but I do think some people also enjoy getting an idea of the mock building process, which is pretty complicated with this figure given the level of third-party pieces that are used on especially the standard Tahu version, not this red and black one, though I will note that every one of these cam pieces that are very useful on this model redesign for Tahu, they really only come in a couple colors in official LEGO, and red and orange are not some of those colors. So getting these Go Bricks pieces has been super useful in designing the original Tahu that you will presumably might want to try and make with your own variations, I hope. Or, you know, if you want to just copy it, you can copy it. That's what how-tos are for. I hope you feel the freedom to do that. So this is the one thing I'm not necessarily in love with, but you know, it works. If you just put the plate there, it doesn't stick there, but this little thigh technique, which I ran by Ignition Zone, I saw him do it. Apparently the creator Bucky, Bukkey, has done it as well. It's a nice little technique, and I just decided I'm going to throw one of these ball joints on the bottom. And again, these pieces are third party. They don't come in many colors in LEGO, but since there's a bit of a gap there, I thought a 2x1 plate would look nice in filling that out. And there you go, pretty simple. Now let's move on to the torso. Now here's the real meat and potatoes of this build, as the torso is the most complicated part, and there's a lot of pieces, as you can see right here. So have a good look, and I'm sorry if this angle isn't perfect, but I think you'll be able to figure out from a lot of the pieces that I have here what exactly you need to do to really build this guy proper. Starting with the waist crotch area, you got to use one of these pieces with the 2x1 brick in there. It actually ended up being super useful for the way it connects to this gear. This gear sits quite nicely in there, and I think that there's not really a smoother way I could make this waist design that would work quite as well with the scale of the build. There might be something, and who knows, LEGO's always making new pieces. That's part of the reason why this 2025 version can exist. While I'm not saying my brain in 2012 when making the original Tahu Mata would have been able to put this together anyway, there have been so many pieces that are on this model that just didn't exist before, and it's really nice to have them. So especially these pieces that are curved look quite nice on Tahu. I have them here for the back, just kind of smoothing out around the gear. I think that looks kind of nice. And this was somewhat of a later development when I was working on the build, spoiling some of the talking points I'll have with the Tahu, but trying to come up with something to fill the crotch area and make it just kind of look even underneath the 2015 armor shell that we'll get to in a second. And having a little bit of shaping here, some detail to kind of help there is definitely nice, and I think it looks pretty decent. So then you just stick the pin in there. I actually use tape, similar to the process I'll show later, to reinforce the pin connection here, just so it doesn't spin willy-nilly with the relatively heavy torso. Speaking of the actual torso, let's get to that. We're actually going to start with just a 4-length stick, the strength behind this torso and how well it will work. And this hair is beautifully getting in my way. And after that, you just stick, oh no, well, these pieces are moving up on it. We prefer it to be a little lower so that it sticks a little bit in the pin there at the bottom. And then we'll stick one of these pieces here in the middle. Quite nice to keep it secure. And while there's a little bit still at the top, we'll put this upside down. Building this whole torso around system was not something I originally intended to do, but I feel like it worked out really well, and I'll have more to say about that and how I got there in that other video, if I ever make it. So we can just put that on already. As you could probably guess, you need to have some kind of system connection to work well with the this, and this is the best way to do it. So then to build and connect the arms on, I just kept using the studs on each side. Put these here. So gotta keep the axles going. Good stuff. I'll note now that there may be some minor subtle differences between how I build this figure here and how he looks in finally, and maybe even changes from there how they will look in months to come. So I'm sorry if you feel like I'm jumping the gun on this. It doesn't really matter, because you got to use your creativity, and I promise you he won't change much. So maybe I should have done this before putting the hands on. In fact, I'll take that off just to demonstrate. The connection point to make the armor shell in front, or I guess I should say the proper chest, you gotta do it this way. And it's not the most secure, unfortunately, but I do feel like it has some really nice shape into it, and I think it overall, the way I have a lot of the pieces positioned to pressure on one another, it's not too much of a distraction. So we'll start with that one now, so you can see how that build goes. Some of you are probably saying, maybe you shouldn't have done a black version, since it's a little harder to see with some of the black pieces. And I'll say, maybe you're right, but shut up. Kid. Alright, so then you stick the 4-length stick in there once again. You gotta have another one of those. But first we can put this backpack piece, an interesting technique to fit. I really shoved and used every piece of the camel that I could to make this work just the way I wanted. And I hope that you'll find it overall fairly clever. Again, before I put that on, let's replicate. It's cool to be able to use these smaller gears. I really kind of like the way they ride right up against the chest and have the gears right at the front. My only minor frustration with the way it's designed is that it's not easy to turn them, which would be a fun concept for animation if I could easily spin them. The way the pieces are pressured in after the fact makes it a little difficult to do that, but that's all right, you know. And if anything, it's better that it's that way for me, because animation's hard. You guys know that when it comes to the CallanLoF channel and being an excellent stop motion guy, that's really not me. I'm a competent enough stop motion guy, and hopefully that's good enough for the silly episodes I like to write. And so the ball joint, hopefully you can enjoy the elegant simplicity that the ball joint just sticks on like this and just kind of sits over where the chest thing is. And I think that looks kind of nice. It actually looks a little weird with the red ball joint, but we'll try and not think too much of that. And yeah, replicating the gear. Oh no, it's broken a little bit. Well, we'll try and forgive that as well. Replicating, actually, shh, hold on there. Hold on, breaking piece. Just stick on. You don't have much work to do. You just gotta sit there for now. We have to get to the back. The back has a lot of armor on it, so it looks good from the back. That's what you want, right? You want your backs to look good. So, and it also helps because these pieces are literally stuck on by studs. And what in the world are you going to do if it just continues to be a stud connection? So yeah, having one of these newer 5-length half lift arms, flatter lift arms, is definitely nice. I also like to kind of fill out so the gears don't stick out so much. It's kind of cool to have these T-pieces wedged in. Really not easy. As you can see, I really shoved a lot of pieces together in a way that's not necessarily the most intuitive, but hopefully you can enjoy the final results, because I think they look kind of decent. This part is not my happiest of happy parts because it doesn't sit perfectly nicely, but you guys can see the brainchild, the what needs to happen. And just remember that Callan built it a little silly. The order is kind of important, and Callan miffed it up a bit. And you even put that on. But we'll forgive Callan, right? So then that just sticks on the back. Alright, now the easiest part of the back, outside of the ball joints, which I'll put on in a sec, is just, again, there's some kind of variations to doing this just right. And I might recommend putting in a couple 1x1 plates to kind of fill out, or do something fun with the textures there. That helps smooth out the back. And then you put the ball joints in, and lo and behold, when you connect it on top, you got the ball joint didn't stay in, you silly cow. But there you go. That wasn't so bad. It's kind of a shoved together thing, but it does the job, and I think it looks pretty cool. Now onto the final part of the build, the arm and head. I built this one already. And one of the reasons why I thought I'd do this one last is because it involves a somewhat illegal method that many of you may want to redesign for yourselves, and I encourage you to do so. I personally think that this looks the best and functions the best for some of the stop motion animation that I intend to pursue with this build. So also using the 2x1 plates, you're probably better off using the rounded versions. I just use these here because they're more available to me, and I actually found those pieces to be very, very useful recently, so I rather not spare them for this example build that I hope has been helpful in showing just how you can build this character. Or rather, reskin Tahu in a different color. Also, yeah, the arm is not quite exactly the same as the Tahu. Essentially the technique that I do, oh no, let's rip it off, is I put a little bit of tape in the middle. IDS has done this for years, and it's a technique that has been somewhat valuable here and again. And you just kind of run it over the middle. Usually you do it a little nicer than this. You can get it to squeeze in there, and it essentially forms similar to a pin connection. And if you can just kind of slide it in nicely, obviously this didn't sit the best, so some of it's going to stick out the other end. Not ideal, but even when it does stick out a bit, you can kind of hide it in the piece. Probably going to want to smooth that out if you can, but ultimately you actually get some friction and the arm can move and be nice and happy, as opposed to this floppy mess I have right here. So I made two right arms, except that you just flip it. So there you go. Now the head is really simple. It's just a Mata head. You can put in cut tubes if you like to get another point of rotation, but you don't have to. And then this piece that is not official Lego, and it's not even a official Lego piece, but it's been super useful, and it makes for a great neck on this build, so check that one out on AliExpress. And bam, put the mask on, and lo and behold, you've got all the pieces in play. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this how-to. I hope that it will give you some ideas for some of your own techniques, but obviously, as I said earlier, you can just rip everything you want. Any credit would be appreciated. And I really am very happy with how this guy developed, and want to talk more about how that process really came about in my mind, and I really think I will do that. But for now, oh man, this ball joint is loose. Got a loose shoulder there. So I definitely want to do that, and I hope to make that video soon. And yeah, if you couldn't tell, this socket just is stuck there. It's not the tightest connection. It's just a pin connection, but it allows a lot of mobility for the head. So I highly recommend you try and make the head connection work that way. Whoa, floppy arm, floppy arm. But yeah, I feel like this guy actually looks pretty neat in these colors, and I would definitely want to try doing some of the other Toa with some similar builds. So thank you for watching this how-to, and I really hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I will see you guys another time.